Hi there, welcome again to the Trial by Tour YouTube channel. This is where Steve and Mark Kirby talk about their adventures and misadventures in getting ready for the Camino and going forward, our actual travels on the Camino, which start on March the 10th from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. So obviously one of the things that we spent a lot of time working on was our shoes. And this is a review of the various shoes that I tried out, and as I was trying to figure out how best to do this, and then Kirby's going to add some footage from the shoes he tried out. We ended up with very different outcomes, again, just like our backpacks. And so here's an example of two different people coming to very different conclusions, but walking the same trail. So about 5 years ago, I bought my first pair of Hokas, and they were transformational for me. I wouldn't be doing a Camino today had I not improved my knee health by getting some cushioning underneath my feet. And so for 5 years I've been using these things, and they've been a godsend. It's worked out great. So when I decided I was going to walk a Camino, I started looking at various kinds of Hokas, and I immediately, with great enthusiasm, ran down to Mech and bought the first pair of Hokas I could find on the shelf, which was a pair of Rincons, these guys right here. So not much in the way of tread on the bottom, and a very lightweight shoe. What I really liked about these was they were incredibly light. So I figured, okay, well, I can basically run the Camino in these. Fortunately or unfortunately, as you may view it, I took those shoes on a trip me and Annie made to Hawaii, and I tested them out walking on the volcanic lava of the big island of Hawaii for 4 days. And 4 days in, I'd managed to give myself a turf toe and had bruised a bone in the bottom of my foot, thereby proving that not every Hoka is equivalent. Now, armed with that information, I went back to Hoka directly and actually went up a size. These were already size 13s, but I went all the way up to a size 14, which is 2 sizes bigger than my foot. And I bought a pair of Bondis. It doesn't happen to be this pair, but it was a pair of Bondis very much the same as this. These are the extra wides. You can see just how wide the toe is on them. There's not a whole lot of tread still on these things, but these are such a cushioned shoe. They felt great. But it still wasn't feeling quite right, so I went down to my local chiropodist and started investigating what was wrong and why my shoes weren't fitting properly. Well, it turned out that my left foot is much smaller than my right foot, and my left leg is a ½ inch shorter than my right leg. And this makes all the difference in the world, it turns out, when you're trying to walk a long distance. So a pair of orthotics were created. I actually bought 2 pairs, and man, what a difference. And it wasn't a really radical set. They basically raised up the left heel on my left leg, so I have a little bit more equivalent height. That stopped kind of back pain I was getting. And they made it basically a space for my big toe, so it would ride in a space and not take as much pressure by putting a pad into the middle of my foot. Worked like a charm. They also told me, look, you can't be using these size 14 shoes. They're just too big for you. And so I went back to Hoka, returned the other set. They very graciously took a return, and those shoes have been out on the road quite a while. So they actually were very gracious in taking them back. I then went and bought myself my first pair of Hoka Challengers, which are these shoes right here. Again, really different design. It doesn't have the wide toe box of a Bondi, but it's not bad. These are the extra wides. And if you looked at the soles, now you got a little bit of tread. If you were climbing up and down rocks, you'd really find a difference. And I do find a difference in wearing those. So I wore these for a long time with the orthotics. They worked out fantastic. And I started to think, okay, now I've got my shoes. There have been 2 issues. I'm at about 500 kilometers in these shoes, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but they've now worn through at just 500 kilometers in the heel, and I developed a rough spot on my little toe on my right foot. Again, my right foot's a bit bigger, and that's still causing me a problem. I learned a trick from a gentleman named Durang at one of the Toronto Camino groups. Basically told me, look, before you start using your shoes, put a piece of duct tape in the corner so it doesn't rough up the inside. Your toes don't rough up the inside, and just replace the tape every so often. So I've done that. Again, works like a charm. So those shoes have worked out really well. I've moved on to add a second pair of the Challengers to be my shoes for the Camino, and I'll be taking those with me, and I think they're going to be fine. I'm going to leave now for Mark to tell you about his journey I'm going to give you a little bit of the background here. When Mark tried out the Hokas that I was raving about, I thought he was going to be crippled after the first day because it basically hurt his back. And it occurred to us fairly quickly that Kirby spends all of his time walking on beaches. He's basically in flip-flops all the time. And he's long since stretched out his Achilles tendon. So for him, zero drop shoes make a ton of sense. And so his journey ended up being more on the zero drop shoe category. And so he's actually come up with two different pairs of shoes that make sense. So Kirby, over to you.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about the shoes that I found that worked. Initially, I was quite excited about trying out the Hokas because Steve, well, you talked about them at length and you were very happy with them. So I went down and I tried probably 5 or 6 different styles, even to the point where I took a pair home and I walked around on the carpet here at home for 2 days with them. And I did develop quite the backache and I couldn't figure out why. So I went back to the store and they said, yeah, sometimes these shoes just don't work for people's individual orthotics and body type and stride. And for whatever reason, the Bondis, or pardon me, the Hokas didn't work for me. So in my search at the shoe store, I came up with these. And these are Brook Glycerins. And they fit really well. They're more of a neutral shoe. I should show you that they still have a significant amount of cushion on them, but they are more of a neutral fitting shoe, and they work well for me. The other thing I found is I went down to MBC, and they had some, I think, Karhu, they're a Finnish manufacturer. I had never heard of them, but apparently they've been in business for over 120 years, making athletic shoes in Finland. And they had these, which are Karhu Iona, and they were right out of the box, perfect for my feet. So I snapped those up. Lucky for me, they were on sale. And again, they're more of a easy for me to say, more of a neutral shoe, not with the raised drop like your dad's Hokas have. And those are the 2 shoes. I'm actually going to take two pair. I know a lot of people say don't take a second pair, but even with that second pair in my pack, it's only 15 pounds. And I feel more comfortable having a shoe that I've broken in and worn. I probably have several hundred kilometers on both pairs now, with and without my pack. So I feel comfortable having those in my pack and at the ready should I need to either go with a second pair or either alternate one shoe one day, one shoe the other, and do it that way. So that's my take on shoes. Back to you, Steve.
Okay, so that's going to wrap up our pre-Camino videos. We're off in another 8 days, and we'll be putting out some videos from the road, and look forward to communicating with you then. Before we go, I do want to give a shout out to some of the video providers that have really helped us understand how to do this. And we learned a ton by watching your videos, so a shout out to Stephanie Hurtado. I really appreciated the way she added personal stories into the videos. Nadine Walks. Nadine's really had great information for us on mistakes and other such things. Walk with Efren, fantastic videos to watch. Stories Teller, who did a video called Into the Storm. I think it's his 14th video, where he talks about the 2 forms of Greek time. That's a fantastic video, really interesting way of thinking about the Camino. And then, of course, Camino tellers who are, incredible providers of insight and information every day. So thanks to all of you. You've really made our journey more interesting and got us prepared for whatever is going to happen next week. So thanks to all, and buen Camino.